how to set up your account, and some of the basics. So some of these will seem very straightforward and simple for stuff that most of us are doing with a lot of apps. So you can download rCloud directly from the Microsoft Store if you're using a PC or a tablet that's Microsoft based, or you can go directly to Google Play Store, and it works on 4.2 and above. So it's sometimes easier to do that from inside the device, but you don't have to. So the one thing you do need, as we mentioned before, you need a gauge. It's Retrotec DM32 gauge. It's Wi-Fi. You need an rCloud account. Right? We've already been talking about the different devices. So there's several ways to set up your rCloud account. One of it is through the device itself, or the other is to actually just go to retrotec.com and either create or sign up an account. We have a question here. We have a question for this. Launch our poll. Do you already have an rCloud account, aka a Retrotec account? So for those of you that do, sure. If you do not, then you may be debating that. And thinking about it, don't know. Maybe you're here to learn what all this stuff is. A couple more votes. There we go. Thank you I know you're paying attention. So for those of you that want to make sure you also get your BPI credits, it does help to pay attention. Voting is a huge resource for that. So it does say that you were awake at this time or you tuned back into this page. Okay, we'll wrap that one up. So a lot of people do not have a Retrotec account or an rCloud account. So that's one of the things you can do and set up. Even if you're not using it, it's just something you can get out of the way and do. Many people out there have Android devices, so you'll be definitely headed towards this route sometime soon. So you can sign in directly on your device, whether it's your phone or your tablet, through rCloud, sign in, create an account. All this is very straightforward stuff that we do regularly. And we'll actually open up a browser, or you can just go to your browser on your PC or Mac and just log in and sign up on the computer or device itself. So it's very similar. So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is, this is all common stuff we do. Create an account. If I've already got an account, I'm going to access that. It's a lot of basic stuff to do. So if you already have an account, then I want to edit my account, and I want to determine if my rCloud is active on the account, right? So you may have a Retrotec account. You may have already done this to download stuff or access or use the webinars or other things, but your rCloud may not be active with your Retrotec account. So when you go sign in under Retrotec, you want to go to edit, and that will allow you to access this little box at the bottom to say, yes, activate my rCloud user account, and then you're in. You have an rCloud account. If not, you go through the basic stuff of complete the required stuff, password, full name, all that. And again, click the box that says use rCloud for my account. So to make it clear, whether you have an existing user or you created a brand new account, right, that you must click this box. There are some features that are built in to an account that allows a user group to work together. Let's say that I've got a company and I've got 4 auditors, that I can actually have a single account for my company, and each individual user will have an account. So John, Chris, Mary, and Frank could have their own individual accounts that all come back to this one account, so they can see their own tests they're doing. You, as a person who owns the account, can see everybody's testing information. So there are some built-in sophisticated features that are online that allow you to keep track of individual users that are all coming to the same database and the same access point. Okay, so once you have an account, you can access it online, or you can access it on your device. So it's common that many people have a office manager, or when you get back to the office, you want to access these to either see what's going on as a total profile, see all your tests, or you can share them directly from your online account. So these are some of the different features that are out there. So I did try to add a icon that goes along with the Samsung phone. Soon it'll just be any kind of phone or tablet. We're waiting for that day to come soon. So there are things you're going to do when you first time open rCloud, and that is you need to add some equipment to your profile. If not, you can do it when you're ready for the test, but sometimes it's easier to just go ahead and do that. So there's a place on a tablet layout versus a phone layout. The phone layout works similar to whatever type of phone you've got. There's a lot of swipe from the right, back arrow at the top. Android does have a back button at the bottom. Both of those are active. So you want to add the equipment that would be associated with you, the user. So I have a list of fans that I use and or gauges. The my addresses is the ability to save an address when I'm entering addresses and say, you know what, I come here enough that I just want to go ahead and save this, or I may come back to this later. So they have a save an address feature. What we're hoping for in the future is that these can be entered offline, like somebody at the office can enter addresses that will be able to be uploaded to you under my address, and then you'll be able to see your task for the day, or enter this on a desktop versus on your tablet. Sometimes that's a lot easier. So there are some features that they are thinking through and how to make this more of a much more user friendly and advanced type of application. Okay, I'm getting information on the background says that addresses can be added offline on the website. So those are all kind of things that have already been implemented. So that's great stuff to see. So this is the home page that happens. And it displays, there's some key things that I wanted to make sure we pointed out here. So on your home screen at the very top under rCloud, it's pointing out if your internet is if you're connected to an internet and what that is, or if you're offline, because you can be associated with maybe your internet connection that device may have, or you're connected with a Wi-Fi connection otherwise, or it'll clearly state that you are offline, which means you're not able to transfer data or get any new up-to-date data onto your app. And there's a couple of different things that are also showing up here. So I'll go kind of towards the large icons, which are the different ways you can view it. So this is kind of like the icon view, and I can see the different jobs that I've done and kind of see them on a map, and I can see the address below and how many tests I've done. It may be hard to see, but at the bottom here I have 9 tests. This one has 3. These both at the top have 1. And if I click on any one of those, then I can open up and see all the individual tests, and then click on any individual test and we can see the report. If I want, I can create a new test by clicking the red button and follow the prompts on how to enter the address or confirm where I'm at. So on this scenario here, I can see that I've done 3 tests. I did a 1 blower door and 2 duct tests. And I can then tap on any one of these and I can open up the report and see what that looked like. So we're back to the home page, and I can create a new test, which I mentioned, or I can just tap the plus button if I want to do another test at this location. So the example would be if I'm going to do a blower door and a duct test, then I would enter the address the first time for one of them, and then I would just go back to the home screen and hit the plus button to do my secondary test. So maybe it's the blower door first and then the duct test, or vice versa. The point is I've already got my address already here, and I can just add another test to that actual location. Once you've entered the address information, then they're asking you, do you want to do a blower door or a duct test? And this is now going to set up what type of standard you're going to follow and start connecting the gauges and begin to do your test. So these are some of the basic options for doing either a blower door test, which we have selected, and similar to duct test. So there's a ResNet standard, there's a ICC standard, Title 24. We are going to be adding a weatherization box here that just really does similar to ICC, but we wanted to make it clear for those using weatherization that you just click a weatherization button and it'll do your blower door test for you. But after you pick one of these, then there's other options as to what type of test do I want to do. So is it a single point, multi-point, or repeated single point? There's various options for these different test options. So depending if it's ResNet, ICC, Title 24, soon there will also be European standards in here. So our goal is to try and follow uniform standards and uniform methods of performing tests. These are some of the options that are in the application for Windows specifically that are out there right now. So you can easily pick one of these and perform these. Many of these are also the same features you can get on Android. as soon as the Android goes through this pre-release through the ability for other public feedback, it usually takes about 2 weeks. Then there's another update to correct a few other issues, and then it'll have all of the full features. And both of them are headed towards a major upgrade, probably in less than a month or so, to talk about some of the stuff that's the next phase of how rCloud will be beneficial. So these are some of your tests. We are working on right now performing the ability to do a multi-point test for the 2015 code, which requires an ASTM 779, and that's identical to the multi-point test for ResNet for the most part. So those are easily entered for the ICC, and you'll have that option here very soon. This is one that will show up in your application, but where it's in progress. So don't expect a lot from it, but we would appreciate your feedback if there's something you think that would be beneficial. So what we are going to do is do something for code compliance. It'll also be included with the ResNet, so you can do one test to do both solutions. And it'll basically ask you is how big of an area or volume are you testing? Is it equal to or less than as an option? It then tells you what will your final score be. And at the end, it'll tell you whether you passed or failed. So our goal is that your compliance report at the very top is very clear that you passed this criteria and explains out what it was so that you can confirm that you are doing the same exact code compliance. Your building official can see it, and it's very obvious in all the reports that have that at the top. So there are some basic stuff that happens in here. And remember in the beginning, we talked about having geolocation versus internet connection and the two that are different. So this is where the geolocation comes in very handy. And that is that I can just tell it to get my location. So it will ping the geolocation options and say, okay, here's where I believe you're standing. And it can actually map where I'm at. So it can actually determine how far away my range is based upon how accurate the geolocation is, and it gives me that kind of feedback. Sometimes you may get an error, which means that your device is not 3G enabled. So it says, I can't do that because that's not an option for me. Sometimes you may be connecting your tablet to your phone. Sometimes it works very well. Sometimes it's a very large area that it grabs. And sometimes, again, it gives you a challenge saying, no, this is not actually able to be calculated. But your phone will be successful, or if your device is 3G or 4G. Sometimes you may have a connection if you're in the basement trying to do this, and clearly you're not going to be able to get a GPS signal possibly because you're restricted by the home itself. So there are, logistical issues that may come into play. But in general, if you have a device that does geolocation, it will actually prompt you. So it says, yeah, I found it. And it tells you right here, longitude, latitude. Remember those that information we gathered earlier. And it tells me that you're within 60 meters. I did some earlier today, and I was within 12 meters, which is a very accurate area, right? And when it did this, it also says, well, based upon this location, this is the information that shows up on your on the map, and I can actually fill in part of what you need for your address. So it already went and found that I live on this, that you're located near the street. The address number is never accurate, so we just left it blank and asked you to enter that. It confirms your city and state and postal code. If for some reason any of this is not what you expected, you can change it. It also went and got your weather from your nearest weather station based upon this location. So at this time and date, it was outside temperature was 61 and wind speed. And you must enter information about the inside temperature that can never be gotten from a public domain. So you must enter the inside temperature, and that's one of the things that's required. There are other ways to get automation, elevation, floor area, and volume when you actually can verify your address. So one is actually I'm verifying where I'm at with my geolocation, and the other is it will actually verify the street information that I'm asking for and search for any known criteria like from Zillow or similar third-party features that can actually fill some of this in. So I click on my location, and I can also get a lot of great information that's filled in automatically. Again, so now I've already got elevation, floor area, when it was constructed. And if I don't like any of this, I can actually change it. You can go back to the previous fields and alter, like, no, they actually have an addition, or for some reason it was actually built in 2006. If you have other data, you can update this. It will not update Zillow, but it will update your information here. There's also a feature on here that if it can't find, let's say you're doing a brand new home, that's very common for code compliance, you can geolocate where you're standing, but if there's no known address, this address has not been mapped yet. It's not in the known resources. This address probably was assigned a month ago by the municipality. So you can also pick down that this is a new construction site as a button, and it will not try to verify other data because it's not out there yet. So you just can use the geolocation to confirm where you're standing to do your new house as a location. Okay, so now we've gotten past the type of test we're going to do, blower door or duct tester, right? And we've confirmed where we're at, what's the location, and now we're going to connect our gauge that has to be Wi-Fi to our DM32, right? And so I connect our device to the DM32. Both have to have Wi-Fi. You cannot use the USB cable, although there is a jack at the bottom of the DM32, and there is Wi-Fi, USB connections on your devices. You cannot connect your DM32 to any device, tablet, PC, or phone using the USB. It has to be a Wi-Fi connection at this point. You can use those for other things you may want to do to update your gauge, but in terms of rCloud, you must have a Wi-Fi connection. So there's a couple of options here. I can either use my gauges or hit find gauges and select the type of fans. All these things I had put into my account when I first opened it. I encourage you to definitely do your fans ahead of time with the model number and the serial number. The gauges, sometimes you can just find the gauge that you have with you. If you rotate gauges, then you can just hit find gauge and make those connections. So if your gauge is already connected, it'll just automatically populate and just show up for you as being connected, right? But instead, I can actually click on the button on the side, says find gauges, and it will show me a list of gauges that are near me that already are able to be connected. And I click on that individual fan, and I can then access it. And notice over here on the right in the red that I've actually now have connected to this gauge, and I want to confirm that I'm using the right fan and the right range. You're no longer going to be using the gauge. The rCloud app is the main source of how you're going to interact with the gauge. So the gauge is now going to be locked out. So I can't change the device or the range on the gauge. It's all done through the app. Okay, so once I've got my gauge set up, I know my range is correct, everything is ready to go. Then the next thing I do, I'm often running on a test. So here's a blower door test. It tells me at the top it's a blower door test, and this is the type of test. And I already did my baseline, and I went past that. But basically, it'll give you your baseline and give you confirming if you want to use this baseline or repeat it. For resident, it tells you if you're in standard accuracy or reduced accuracy and what that means. And then it says, okay, and also reminds you to cover and uncover your fan. So it gives you a lot of basic prompts in between here. And then I can actually see my test as a live graph as I actually do the blower door test directly. One of the things is specific for Windows, so I make sure I bring this up so you don't have to go back and say, hey, I had an issue and my gauge dropped out. And that is that it's not uncommon specifically for Windows, that if I go do something else, like let's say I'm running this test, in the meantime I decide on my Windows tablet to go check my email, that you may come back and the gauge has been separated or disconnected. Windows does not like you to have devices connected that you are not directly using at the time. So the best thing to do is just hang tight and run the test, and then you can go do other stuff. But if you forget and you decide to click the Windows button or do something else and come back, you may find this. You just have to just reconnect the gauge and redo your test. You don't have to re-enter everything else ahead of time that you've already done. Okay, so after I've completed the test, and once you've run a blower door test, it goes fairly quickly. So even though it's doing a 10-point type of test for you and giving you your results, it actually is fairly quick and say, okay, wow, that was done. And then the next is to confirm if I wanted these results. Like, wow, that's actually more than I expected. Let me go check the windows. Let me go find out if there's an issue. Maybe I've got a huge spike here that somebody opened the back door. I can see if there was a significant issue during the test. And if I don't like this, I can just hit retry. And it will ask you if you want to keep the baseline or redo the baseline. And I can perform my test again. Otherwise, I'm going to say accept, and I go to the next page. And I can see the actual report. And this is on the right is the bottom section here. So this is all the immediate information. Again, sometimes this may be updated since I've put this together as a webinar, but in general, it's telling me that where I was, when did it occur, what my results were. And our goal is to make this quality assurance report a little more snazzy and bring in the you passed or you failed at the top. So all those things are being updated. Our goal is to get things functional, and then we can make them much more beneficial for users. Okay, so as soon as my report is done and I upload it, it says, okay, you've uploaded this report. It now went to the cloud, and it's being stored on a Azure Microsoft system that rCloud accesses. So it's not like a server directly that actually works with somewhere in Retrotec's back corner. So they do have a secure cloud storage system that they're using. And once I hit accept, all this has been updated. Now I can actually go back into my account and access it. Anybody at the office can now access this information. It can be shared before I leave the office. Somebody at the office can check and be like, oh, okay, Joe's done with this test. Let me see the results. No, this is not what I was expecting. I need a lower number. Please perform the test again. Make sure that all the windows are closed and locked. Whatever it was that you needed to make sure happened can be checked on both sides, or I can share my report before I leave with a building official or my provider or anybody that I need to. So it's a great feature in terms of sharing instantaneous results. They can be emailed as an attachment. There's a PDF version, or there's an online HTML, just kind of very bland version. So there's a variety of options that are out there.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
I just want to mention too. During the webinar, you went through step by step and you explained everything. But I want to assure everybody, anybody who's seen this test actually run or actually seen rCloud in action, it's very, very quick. It only takes a few minutes, so it's very easy to do. Just wanted to mention that.
Well, how about if we do that?
No, I wouldn't do that.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
No.
This is my phone. So this is my screen. I changed the background to be a generic phone kind of background, but this is actually my phone just sitting on my desk right here. And cross your fingers, because strange things happen whenever you try and do this kind of stuff online and live. It never goes correct. So let's hope. So one of the things that you do want to make sure when you first sign into rCloud is there's a little button at the bottom saying, keep me signed in even when I'm offline. And that's huge, because if you go somewhere and you're offline, you cannot log in. So we have logging error report. Oh, it's from when I shut it down last time, I did a hard shut off. Okay, so here is right here my phone live running rCloud and on my Android. And so I thought I'd just give you an overview about what this home screen looks like or what's happening here. These are all the tests that I've done, and I can view them in many different fashions. All right. So one of these, you may notice that they all have a map next to them, except this one. All right. And the reason this doesn't have a map icon is because it was a new construction and it wasn't able to be mapped, but I did get to do a geolocation. I can press on any of the plus buttons next to any one of these addresses and add another test to it, another duct tester or blower door test, right? The other things I can also do is I'll go up to my options here under view. I can view as a grid or a map. So here's the grid version. It's similar to what we saw earlier. Because I'm using another cable to show my screen, sometimes the map has been causing a crash. So I can also sort them by most recent or address. So I'm going to go back to the list. And if I click on any one of these, I can see the different reports I had earlier, right? So these are all the different tests I've done. And if I click on any one of them, like here, we'll do this one. This is the actual report that I've got. So it tells me again that my verified technician location was right here, and the accuracy was 7 meters. That's pretty dead on to keep track of somebody through geolocation. And the distance from the actual building is 10.4 meters. So that means that I'm 10.4 meters. You can kind of jump into yards. They're pretty similar, and say that I was within 10 meters of this house based upon my geolocation. That's pretty darn accurate. Let's just do another test at 4925 Shiloh. So I'm going to hit the plus button. Do I want to do a blower door or a duct test? So I'm going to do a blower door test. I'm going to do the ICC code compliance type test. It's a single point test. And it's asking me, do I want my air changes per hour at 50 to be less than or equal to? And we're going to say less than. I live in an area that currently it's 7, but I'm going to just go with 3. So it should be less than 3 air changes per hour. When the code changes, that's what it'll be. So it knows where I've at because I've done tests here before. So it's already got my basic floor area and my volume. I do need to confirm that I'm doing another test, and I must validate where I'm at. So it says, please get my location. So it's now going to geolocate that I'm standing at this address that I've already got into my account. Okay, so I have an address. It says that I'm within 9 meters, plus or minus 21 meters. So I'm in a nice range. I'm near this this actual location. And I must also make sure I confirm the condition. So it already went and got my temperature. It's 91 degrees where I live right now. And my inside temperature is probably, I'll say 92. No, I'm kidding. It's 70. And I go back. Notice on the side here that I have these check boxes that say, okay, you're good to go. And then I can do next. If any one of these was not addressed, you cannot go to the next and begin the test. So you must have tried to validate and confirm your conditions. Otherwise, next is not an option for you. Okay, so let's see if we can connect a gauge. It says right here, I've already got one sitting next to my office that connected. I haven't done this since last night. Okay, it's connected. There it is. So I'm now connected. And it's using the 1000 fan. So if I didn't like that fan, I was going to use, say, a 5000 fan or a Minneapolis blower door, then I would select one of those. But I'm going to use a 1000. I picked the range that I'm going to use. So I'll say I'm going to go to a C range. And now I've got my connected device and my my gauge, the right fan, the right range, and now I can actually start my test. It's going to do a pre-baseline. So it says, hey, make sure you got your fan covered, and we're going to start. And I'm giving a little bit of baseline added so you can see that there are some numbers there. So it says my baseline average is 1.5 and it gave me a range. If I don't like this, then I can just hit retry, or I can hit start and uncover my fan. And now it's actually going to rev up the fan and actually perform the test automatically. Sometimes it overshoots. I've got a little test system underneath my desk, so sometimes it shoots past 50 pascals pretty easily. It'll come back down, it'll get near 50, and it will stabilize. And I know these kind of things are challenging to do during a webinar when everybody expects things to move and move quickly, but I thought it'd be interesting to see actual live test, see how simple it is. It's very intuitive and very straightforward. Some of your most challenges, which I have a few slides that I'll bring up here in a second, are about connecting your individual device, tablet, phone, to the gauge. So I got a few slides on that as soon as this test is over. So it runs a series of protocols. It means that it must be near a certain range that's stable, somewhere between 48 point something and 52 point something, somewhere in that area. It actually follows other protocols that are beyond my scope. We do have all this stuff documented, and is also using the extrapolate and add feature all the time as it's doing this. So the baseline has already been incorporated, and it's giving me my results based upon baseline and add feature automatically. If for some reason it slips below or above that number, it will just pause and wait until the fan reaches its speed. Okay, so here's my final results. And at the bottom, I can see that my induced pressure on average was negative 50.2, my flow, and I can confirm my serial number and the type of fan and range I did. What will be there soon is, remember we had a compliance of air changes per hour. That is something that will also show up here as determined if you passed or failed. So if you want to do the test again or confirm if there's anything you can do to make that house a little tighter, you should go do so and then test again. So if I accept these, it says, okay, here's your report. Similar to what we've seen on other screens. And if I like what I've got here, and I can actually access my gauge serial number by clicking on it, it takes me to a website that will confirm that this is in calibration. That's a huge feature for a lot of HERS raters and similar people that want to know that, am I using a gauge that's in compliance? Once I hit submit, I can give it an additional name, like I can call this the webinar test. And that name will show up as something I can use as a trigger besides the address and besides the time and area. It gives me one more thing to identify this test. So you may have two duct tests that you've done. Like I can call that upstairs or downstairs if I'm looking for an immediate identifier for that kind of duct test. Okay, so the data was saved. It's up in the cloud, and it brings me back to my main page, and that report and anything else that's on here has now been updated. And that's how simple it is to kind of run a report, run a test and a report. So under here is my webinar test, and there's the data that I've got. And that's the basic overview about how simple this kind of app is and how well it can work for you. Any questions? Any questions? Good, bad, and different? All right, let me address a few other features that I want to make sure we address, or communication possibilities. So I did go out and use my phone, and I disconnected the LTE internet connections. And I'm going to move through these slides kind of quickly because it just shows that you can actually do a test and be offline. See, it says here that I have no internet. And you can't upload because you're offline, but when you get back online and the app is up and open, it will automatically update these offline tests. So I was able to sign in and be in an offline mode with my Android. These are what the maps look like when you're offline because they can't actually connect to the internet and update them. I could actually do a GPS validation and tell me where it was, but I could not actually do conditions. I had to enter them manually as to temperatures indoor and outdoor. So I connected my gauge and ran my basic test. Everything was straightforward. This is an example of what a ResNet response would give you. It says that you're in standard accuracy, and it tells you why, or if you're in reduced accuracy. So those are some great features. Again, you already saw this live, but I just kind of had a pre set up in case that my live phone failed. So I can get my results, and then when I go to upload them, I hit submit, and it says, sorry, I can't upload it, but when you get back online, they're going to be uploaded automatically. So the difference here is that I'm working on my connection. Once I have it, it uploads, and I can then update all of my information. So again, just because you do not have an internet connection does not mean that you cannot use the majority of the features that this gauge and rCloud offers you, including confirming where you're standing when you do your test. Okay, so here's one of the questions that always comes up is, what's it cost? How much? So the app is free. You can download rCloud app from the Google Play Store or Windows Store right now. And you will be charged $2 for each blower door test and $2 for each duct test, right? And then any additional blower door tests and duct tests at the same address and within a 30-day window are free. So if I went to one house and I did a blower door test and I came back a week later, 3 weeks later, and did another blower door test, you're only charged one blower door test, All right, you can do 5 tests, and the reason is because we know that we make mistakes. We need to do multiple tests. I need to do this test again. Something got changed. I may come back 3 times and do a blower door test in a matter of 2 days. You're only going to be charged 1 test within that 30 days. So it's only $2 for a blower door test. If you also did a duct tester test, and you may have done 5 of those at that house within a month, within 30 days, you're only going to be charged the one-time fee for the duct test. So I try to lay it out as to what an average month might look like for some testers. So if we started in May and we went into June, so some tests may have a blower door, only one. Some may have multiple blower door tests. Some may have duct tests or repeated. So at the last house, I did 2 duct tests and 2 blower door tests, but I only was charged $4 because it was the same address, all within 30 days of testing. So it's not within a month. It's not like a June or July. It's actually just from the first day you did it to 30 days later to do your second test. So here we did a total of 15 tests, and it only cost $16 to do these 5 houses with 15 tests. Hopefully that explained the price structure. The next one I'll go through, which will wind us down to the end here, is connecting the DM32 to your device. All right, there's several different ways to do this. So again, your DM32 must be Wi-Fi. This is more text than I ever want to put on a slide, but I did it just so we could get through it. You have the options of either having your DM32 create a Wi-Fi signal. It'll actually make its own Wi-Fi source, or it can join a Wi-Fi network. All right, so those are your options, that it can create or join something, and we'll talk about what the difference is and whether or not your device needs to use the Wi-Fi network that the DM32 has, or get it to join. You really want to be familiar with your device, and you should become familiar with how to generate a hotspot on your device. And if you're not sure how to do that, there's some 10-year-old on YouTube that can show it to you within a matter of seconds. That's how I've learned many of the advanced features that I've learned on my phone and other stuff, is from some kid who can make a video and tell me how to do it. So again, my options are to join. These are under the settings. So if I go under settings and go to the multiple windows in the bottom right, then I end up with the network settings, and I can either tap join or tap it multiple times, and it goes to turn off or wired or create. So these are my 2 options that I'm going to use to connect my gauge to my device, which again is a phone or a tablet or potentially a PC. So to get to those network settings, as I mentioned, we're going to tap. We're going to go through. At the top, you're going to get a variety of join versus create. So I want to make sure that we have the understand those options that go through. So if I'm going to do join, then I click the little bottom icon that says my little Wi-Fi, and it says, well, what's your network name? It says, okay, mine is Joe's phone that I'm going to join. So I want to join another device. So I would actually enter. So here the phrase to enter is my Wi-Fi, because that's the name of the device. So whatever your device was called, you're going to enter that. The difference here is whether it is a secure network or password protected. The difference is if there's no password, what Android allows you to set up a hotspot on your phone and say it is unsecured, which means anybody can try and join your internet connection, right? Or you set up a password, which is the way Apple does it. You always have to have a password. The difference is that if there's no password, you can do everything in the gauge. If there is a password, you must use a PC and enter that information into the gauge through Internet's configurator. It's actually the one way you use to update your gauge. It's the same way you use to update your Wi-Fi settings and your internet network settings. So we do have slides that come back to that, but that's the big difference. So notice here on the right, actually, I'm sorry, on the left, we're gonna focus on the device and then talk about ways that we can connect it. So these are basic tablets that do not have 4G or LTE or any other internet connection. So these are offline mode is how I'm going to be running them. And I do have the option to do a direct connect. So I can actually create a Wi-Fi signal in my gauge, and it'll say, okay, then I can go over to my device and say, find the Wi-Fi that's called DM32 with the serial number, and I can connect. So now I'm connected from my device automatically to my gauge, and I can perform all the tests automatically. This is a very common offline system that you'll use if you're at a house that you're just going to do the tests, and you can geolocate and perform the tests and upload everything later. All right, the other one is I can use a router is to make a connection between the two of them. So my router is what's sharing my network. Many of you have this in your house. So I then tell my DM32 on the right to join this router, and I tell my device on the left to also join this router. So again, if the router has no password, I can do this also at a house directly inside the DM32. If there is a password on the router that I'm using, then I must use the configurator to enter that information. You do not want to use your some homeowners' router. So you don't go to a house and say, hey, what's your router password? So either you have your own router or have your own system to always make your connections. Don't depend on the homeowner's internet or router to get you going. Okay, so again, I still have a 3G or 4G device. It's not its own internet, but I can now connect to my phone through its mobile hotspot. So now I actually have internet connection for my tablet, right? And on the other side of my DM32, I can join this network, and either it's open or it's not, but it's a lot easier now to have internet, make the connections, everything's joining one solid hotspot, that's the phone. And again, if you have no password, which the Android allows you, it's very easy to do. If there is a password, we're on to the configurator. So my device on the one side is connecting to my phone, and I can join whatever hotspot you've named it. Maybe you've named my Joe's Android, and that's the information you would be putting in to the DM32. Okay, now if we do have this device, so maybe many of us are savvy now, we actually have a tablet that is internet savvy. So I can be online with my tablet. It can also create a hotspot and allow my gauge to join. So I can now sometimes create one that does not have a password or does have a password. Again, the issue is the password, and it is something that we are working on to overcome. I'm definitely working with Retrotec to try and overcome this feature as it can be done in the app itself, and that is the goal, to conquer that. So you do not need a PC to set up the ability to join an actual Wi-Fi connection or network. So if it does have a password, then you must download the configurator, and you can download it, you install it, it has all the drivers, everything you need. You definitely want to restart your computer and open the configurator. The DM32, I recommend it should be off, and then plug in the USB, plug it into both the computer and the DM32, and then you'll be able to find it when the configurator is already open. It says, oh, I found your gauge, and then you can select network from the bottom. And here's the things you're looking for. So you want to make sure that I'm clicking on network. I want to click on Wi-Fi join, DHCP. All these things are usually still there. You enter the exact name of this network. Say it's my Apple phone, Joe's Apple phone, and enter the exact password. And then I can hit save to the gauge, and then my gauge will keep that. And again, we're trying to update that as a process. Okay, a couple minutes over. Apologize for that, but I tried to keep it in that hour. If you have any information or anything you want to add to this, and please send it to us. There are a couple of questions on here that I'll try and get back to. Any other questions, Jay? I'm looking at them now. Anything else we want to address?
No, looks like you answered everything. There was just one question about whether or not rCloud will actually perform a clean agent hold time test.
So that's a great segue as to what's next. Okay, so I will briefly give you my overview of where rCloud will be used in the future. This may be several years in the future, but it could be used to do clean agent testing. That's not an immediate on our hit list. So we appreciate your feedback, and it may show up there. It's not something I would say never, but it's could easily be more than a year away, if that. But we are trying to add more test features like how to do zonal pressure diagnostics in the house, how to do combustion analyzing CAS testing in the house, how to do check for exhaust fans. For those of you that are familiar with ResNet 380 standard, there's a variety of tests that are done there. Basically, anything that you can move through the capture through the gauge is something we want to create a way to capture in rCloud. So some people may use it for duct testing. Some people want to use it for doing a flow hoods or other types of devices that can, again, if it can be used on the gauge, we can run it through rCloud. Pressure pans, anything like that. So that's our goal for the future, that you'll be able to do more diagnostic testing, capture where you did it, and have all those results stored immediately on the cloud. Oh, so I have one last thing to you. So what rCloud features are important to you? This will close us off here. So we're trying to find out what really is a value to you. If there's something else that you think is a value that's not on here, throw it in, send us an email. But it's hard for us to pick out which one of these really is crucial, because they all play onto each other pretty well. So we want to see, for those of you that are here today, what were some of your top features? I got, we're holding at 50, okay, not bad, 50, 60. Let's see if we can't get at least 80%. Just click one or two of these and we can call it a day. Automated testing definitely stole the show. And we also think that's a great, a huge benefit. Knowing where you did it and how to document it, those are things that we think become soon requirements for many standards. So, Jay, anything else you got?
Oh, that'll do it.
All right, we appreciate everybody. We'll be back. We're back in the routine of having webinars. We took August off to kind of gather our forces, and we look forward to seeing you again. So have a great day. See you on Tuesday.